Hey everyone, Mr. Hayden here. In this screencast, I'm going to show you two different ways to make a scrolling background. Now, the first way to do this is an approach that you should use if you have an image that informs the entire background of your game or the screen. So, in this approach, you make two images, and if your image isn't exactly the same on the left side and the right side, so that when you put them back to back, they don't match up, then you're going to want to make the second image to be a mirror image of the first one, so that when the right side of the first image is joined to the left side of the second image, it doesn't appear as if there are lines or some jarring marcation point. This way, you'll have a smooth blend from one image to the other. One will be the mirror of the other, and it may look a little bit weird, slightly weird and noticeable depending on what the image looks like. But in general, this is the best approach if you want to have a background image that is different on the left than it is on the right. So if that's the case, you want to open your first image in Photopea, okay, and then you go to the image menu and you go to transform and you go to flip horizontally. Okay, and once you get the horizontally flipped image, which is the mirror of the original one, then you're going to save that as your second image. And you're going to make sure that you remember what or where you saved it and what its name is, because you will then upload that to second image to your button bashing game. And this is the approach I actually used in my button bashing game here. I actually have two images. I probably could have gone by without two because my image is kind of blue on the left side and the right side. But for the sake of showing you how this works, I actually created two images, and you can kind of see right here is where the one side, I think the right side of the first one joins the left side of the second one, because you can kind of see this cloud is the mirror image of this one, and they're facing opposite directions. But this approach in general, it's the best thing, if especially if you don't have two images that, or an image that the left and the right side are pretty much the same. Okay, so what did I do then? Well, I made, let me see if I can find it. There it is, set background image. So instead of just saying set background image and giving the name of an image file, I say set background image, and then in the parentheses, I put square brackets. So square brackets are to the right of the P key on the keyboard. And then inside the square brackets, I put the names of each file in quotation marks separated by a comma. So this actually creates what's called an array of images, and then basically uh, Pygame or Pygame functions behind the scenes handles the rest. Okay, so now I'm going to go down to when my game is running, and I say scroll. All I need to do is say scroll background, and then I give a negative number for X, and that moves the image that many pixels to the left every time the while loop executes. And you can actually have a vertical component too, so you can have your background go up or down as well as to the left or right. In the my button bashing game, I'm just having things move to the left, so I put a negative number. And now notice that I have if game state equals running, scroll background -5, 0, else scroll background -1, 0. That's because when the game is running, I want the background to go by 5 times as fast, because I want it to look like they're really flying pretty quickly. So as soon as it goes into running mode, we should see, there we go. And I'm sorry it's a little bit blocky because I'm recording. Recording my screen actually takes a lot of computer resources, making my Pygame background in the animation be a little bit blockier. Okay, so that's the best way to go if you have an entire image that you want to scroll from right to left or left to right, or you can do up to down if you want, or you can do kind of diagonally. You just make two images in the case of left to right, and you put a negative value here, and you use the command scroll background. Okay, so that's how you, the one approach to scrolling an image. Now, and the other approach is where you only have part of the image that you want to scroll. So this is the case with my Flappy Bird game, because in Flappy Bird only the ground scrolls, but the skyline does not scroll. Okay, so only the ground scrolls in Flappy Bird. The skyline and the clouds do not. So I kind of use a similar approach. Behind the scenes, it's really the first approach is similar to this one. It's just that you can't see the code that's involved. But either way, I have two images. Okay, and now the left side of mine is the same as the right side of the ground sprite. If you look at the ground sprite, so I didn't make the second one a mirror image of the first one. I could just make the first one be the same. So I made two sprites, okay, and they are, let's see, ground 1 and ground 2. Okay, and I positioned ground 1 so that its left edge is at 0. And I actually made variables to keep track of where the x-coordinate of each of the ground sprites is, so that I could manipulate them in the game loop. So let me see if I can find where they are. I'm looking for ground 1x. There we go. So ground 1x equals 0. That means, and then I move ground 1 to a position that begins at 0, and right there, and I move it to a position 520 pixels from the top of the screen. And then ground 2, which is the same size, I start its left edge right off the right side of the screen. So when I make ground 2, I give it an x-coordinate of 335 because the screen width is 335. So even though you can't see it, I really have one sprite. One of my sprites is, oh shoot, it's not showing anymore, is entirely on the screen. The other one is completely off the screen. Okay, let me see if I can get it up again so you can see it. And let's see. Hopefully this is going to work. There we go. So the first one's entirely on the screen. The second one joins the first one, and it's entirely off the screen. And then when the game is running, I simply adjust the values of ground 1x and ground 1y so that they are less than what they were before, and then I move the sprite to that new position. And I move both of my sprites, so both ground 1 and ground 2 are going to be moving at the same speed. So you'll see, let's see, ground 1x minus equals 2, ground 2x minus equals 2, and then move sprite to the new location with ground 1x being the x-coordinate. And the y value does not change because I'm just going from left to right. So eventually the first image goes completely off the left edge of the screen, and the second image comes completely on the screen. So in that case, I want the first image to immediately be positioned off the right edge of the screen. so that as the second image goes off to the left, the first one is coming onto the screen from the right. So to handle that, I have two if statements. So, and the first one says if ground 1x is less than negative 3 and 35, then ground 1x equals, ground 2x plus, and hold on, let me okay, so I tweaked it just a little bit to show you something. So my images are 335 pixels wide, and my screen is 335 pixels wide. So I put if ground 1x less than negative 335, then reposition it at ground 2x plus 335, which would be the right edge of ground 2x being now the new left edge of ground 1x. So the problem with doing these numbers exactly is that if you'll notice, my ground 1x, its first coordinate is 0, and it's going down by 2 each time. So that means it's going to overshoot the negative 335. It's entirely possible that because if it does that, and then if I reposition it at the exact position of the right edge of the other one, I might get a little white space in between. And I think I do if I run it with that. And I'll show you how you can get rid of that. Yeah, see, here's that little white space. All right, so what you can do is just tweak the numbers slightly. So I'm going to tweak ground 1x to say if it's less than or equal to negative 334, okay, then make it reposition it. So let's see if this fixes that. And if not, there's one more thing we can try. Okay, so we still have that little line. So what you should do then is we're going to say we're going to position it, reposition it to 1 less than the width of, or the right side of the other one. Let's see if that fixes it. And if not, we'll try increasing it again. All right, so looks like we're still getting it. So let's try, oh, I'm sorry. Let's try 333. And let's see if this fixes it. Let's see. Well, in the beginning we saw 2 lines, but after that, no more lines. So yeah, so that's the way you handle scrolling a background if you don't want the entire background to scroll. And you essentially make the part of it that you want to scroll be a sprite, and you make 2 of them, and then you constantly reposition them, and then when one goes off the screen, you put it to so that it joins the other side of the second one.